What's going on, Raw Family? It's your boy, Donald DJ Jones, and welcome to another episode of Journey of the Mindset. Listen, I have something here special today for everyone. Special today for everyone. Let me just explain something to y'all real fast. This episode right here is special because it means something to me. If you guys know my story, my battle with having dyslexia, trying to navigate different avenues in life, whether that is academics, whether that is professionalism, things of that nature. This right here, this episode I'm telling you right now, is for anybody that has ever struggled academically, personally, when it comes down to things and just learning. This episode is for you. So take the time right now to stop, call whoever you gotta call, so that way they can tune in, whatever it is that you gotta do. But ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, let me introduce you to Dr. Point Du Jour. Did I say that right?
Point Du Jour.
Point Du Jour. Point Du Jour. Am I saying it correctly? Point Du Jour. I love your last name. We had the opportunity to meet a long time ago. We actually had the opportunity to work with each other for a little while. Then I didn't see you for a little while. Then we ran into each other again. And I think this is a blessing that you're actually here today on Journey of the Mindset. But what are you here for is what I'm trying to figure out, right? What did we invite you onto the show for today? You have something that's coming out that you're launching on January 24th. January 24th, you have a book signing. Can you tell us a little bit about that book that's coming out? What's the name? What made you want to write this book?
Okay, so good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are. My name is Dr. Danielle Point Du Jour, and the book is called Foundations for Success, Strategies and Tools for the First Year Special Education Teacher. I chose that topic or the title of the book because I do special education. I deal with that special education. It is very dear to me as I used to teach special education in a special education classroom. And this book is dear to me because I actually did my dissertation in this on this topic, teacher preparation improvement. Knowing and learning how to navigate the system as a educator, especially a new educator, is really difficult. And if you add layers like writing IEPs, which is individualized education programs for scholars with disabilities, then if you don't know how to do that or how to even begin, you're doing the students that you deal with a disjustice. So the purpose of this book is to give a couple of tools, strategies, based on my opinion, and no one else is alone. Just my opinion, what I research, what I experience, just giving back to every educator so they can feel empowered.
You know, the reason why I definitely wanted to invite you on to this platform is because what you're doing in the book that you wrote really means a lot to me. For those of y'all that knows my story, diagnosed with dyslexia in the first grade, went throughout my academic career, graduating high school on the third grade reading and writing level, and from there it's been more of a journey just trying to maintain this level that I'm at now. So one of the things I was telling y'all before the cameras came on is that I couldn't read or write when I graduated out of high school. I had to teach myself basically and constantly keep reading and feeding my brain so that way I can break through this barrier or, I don't like to say limitations, things that was stopping me or messing with my mental because I didn't think that I would be good enough to hold certain positions or go after certain things because I was diagnosed with dyslexia. You also mentioned something about an ISP, individual service plan. I do want to ask you this question. What is it when it comes down to an IEP for a parent that's listening? What is it that constitutes a person to have an IEP? Like, why would they need it? What is it for?
So there are multiple reasons. You have emotional disturbance, you have intellectually disabled, you have learning disabilities, blind, health impairment. It's many things that can lead you into needing this tool, because that's what an IEP is essentially. It's a tool that if any educator or any person that deals with that student knows this is how that child learns best. So if they diagnosed you, but if they would have given you the tools so if they had the tools to give, let's start there, then they would have worked with you and given you those strategic plans, intentional plans just for you. you would not have walked out of high school with a third grade reading level. No, that wouldn't have been the case. However, if they knew, if you knew better, you do better.
Mhm.
So if the teachers knew more about dyslexic kids, like how do they work, how they function, how they learn, then they could be more intentional in their planning. Because you have to plan. You have in one classroom, you may have it's 40% of students with disabilities in an ICT integrated co-teaching classroom. So that's a lot. That could be a lot of children that you need to differentiate for. But that IEP gives the teacher strategies for you.
I like that. So let me ask you a question. Do you see a difference in the way the IEP plans have been structured from back in the day versus now?
Absolutely.
And I say that because I know that when I was put into special ed, I had to go through this evaluation. They took me to this room. I had to sit down and do a evaluation. But my mother didn't know anything about it. So it was basically like the word of the school, just do whatever it is that you had to do because she wasn't educated on it. What differences do you see back then to now, whether it's good or bad?
So I want to say, just as an experience as a student, you knew that the special ed floor was on the bottom floor. And most of the time, they were all
Sure.
bunched up. It was one size fits all. We know that that is so false. It's not one disability. Is not one size. All disabilities don't fit into the same category or the same needs. Or it's absurd actually. And I think we've evolved in education as a whole because we know that every student learns differently, and that's why I think every child should have an individualized educational plan, not just students with disabilities, everyone, because you're giving me a plan to be successful. But back in the days, as just a student, you knew that the special ed floor was like on the bottom. It was like the first floor. They were shot. They were always isolated, and you learn best through your peers. That's why parents put children in school because the social emotional piece, and you learn socially by what you see, and you act. You emulate what you see and what you know, and you have. Now, I think we've done a better job, but we have a long way to go.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not that, they're all in one classroom setting. They're here, or they're there. I think it's a difference, and we're going in the right direction, but we have a lot of work to do.
I'm laughing right now because you are so right about the setting. So I used to go to Lehman High School. I love Lehman High School. It was a great high school. But the special ed classes, I remember, there used to be a bridge that you would walk over, but everyone knew that those classes over there on the other side of the bridge was pretty much all of the special ed classes. So it was very difficult to get a date for prom, because everybody wanted to date the special ed kid and things of that nature. So I definitely remember those days. I also work in the school now, and I do see that they fixed that problem. There's a lot of more integrated services, a lot more integrating them in regular learning, mainstream learning, making sure that they're participating in the activities that's going through the school. I want to dive into your book,
Yes.
The Foundations for Success. I want to ask you this question. What can someone get out of this book? Like if I pick this book up right now, and for those of y'all that don't know and you can't see it on the screen in back of me right here, what is it that somebody can get out of this book by picking up and taking the time to read out of it? What is it that you want them to get out of this book by picking this book up and reading?
So it's kind of self-explanatory. It says strategies and tools for the first year special education teacher. So I want you to pick up the strategies and tools, once again, that I created, that I found helpful, nothing that was reproduced from anywhere else. And my opinion, so this is my opinion, isn't, based on some research I've done and just my own conclusions. I want you to walk away with from reading this book, knowing, first of all, feeling empowered, knowing that you need to take care of yourself, knowing that you need to include time management in everything you do. It's impossible not to. It's overwhelming to try to do this alone. So you'll need strategies and differentiation strategies for your classroom, classroom management, things that you can't make up. You can't even buy it, but it's a practice. So, and you'll have times in a book where it's often reflective, because a lot of my dissertation work, it was transformative learning. And you learn by reflecting on what you've done and what needs to be done to get where you want to be. So it's tools, and it's their little like hacks. How do I monitor my own progress? Because that's something that you're gonna have to do, especially in your first year, your second year, even your third year, and some people even longer than that. And it's saying this is a little cheat sheet, a couple of cheat sheets, so you won't have to do the guesswork that I had to do when I came into the field in 2014.
I'm curious to know when you were doing the research, did you run into anything that surprised you? Did you see something that was like, wait a minute, whoa, like I really need to speak about this, or this is something that may need to change? What did you see when you were doing your research that kind of like surprised you while doing it?
Oh, I don't think anything surprised me. It just confirmed a lot of my beliefs of how we need to change. We need to go back to the colleges and universities and change how you prepare teachers, the preparation process, because that was specifically my dissertation. Improvement of teacher preparation programs. Because if you are tasked with these things, and one misconception I will say is that, and parents, you said it too, they think teachers know everything. Like if you give them your advice and say my child is dyslexic, my child has a learning disability, that's what I'm gonna go by because I'm trusting the teachers. However, you're not necessarily taught those things in your preparation program. It's pieces of it, and then you learn as you go, and then you're able to identify certain patterns, and then with data, if you track your data, then you'll see, all right, my assumption is correct or it's wrong, because you have to get to know those scholars. And so the misconception is that all teachers know everything, or if they said it, then that's what it is.
That's what it is.
That is not the truth. It's not the case. But being reflective, that's why I'm asking teachers to be reflective of their practices. And through that reflection, it's like you're learning because I could teach, but did you learn as a student?
There was something that preparing for this interview that I was doing as a little research, and I read this blog, that a lot of teachers feel like when they're working with students with IEPs is they hit a glass ceiling, meaning that they really don't. They'll hit a glass ceiling where they don't know how to either service this person, meaning they'll graduate out of high school, they don't know where to direct them to, guidance counselors as well, where to direct them to, or even in the midst of them learning throughout and I'm talking on the high school level for right now. On the high school level, where if they're transitioning, they don't know where or how to service them, or even during the time that they're learning, they don't know how to service them. And I mean that in the sense of, how do you take a student more so with a learning disability or IEP and start integrating them into the work community? Does your book address anything like that, or strategies on how to help students grow after their education?
Post-secondary.
Yes.
So absolutely, that's a part of it. So transition goals is like my favorite part of the IEP. It's because if we're not training them to do something, be something, then we're not doing our job. And I tell a lot of students that it's not just this moment that we should be worried about. We should be worried about how does this moment connect to your life, post-secondary goals. So yes, this book touches on that without me giving up too much.
Yeah,
It touches on, because it's so important that everything, if you say, hey, Dr. P, I want to be a musician, or I want to, be a scientist. So if you say musician, I'm going to say, okay, so let me make sure your core class, your electives have something to do with music. Let me make sure any internships I have in this building that are music facing, you're in it. Let me make sure you want to be a scientist. Let me make sure that first you better know math, right? Because that's part of it. You need to like science. So I'm going to make sure as many opportunities to be around museums, science, all those things, internships with companies that are dealing with, it could be pharmaceutical, whatever it is, right? A marine biologist, whatever it is, I'm going to make sure you have exposure to those opportunities. And then you get to see, maybe I didn't want to be that, but it's because it's going to change. 15 versus what do I want to be at 18, 17. So yes, you should always be writing these things in goal with the end goal in mind. What are their interests? What do they like to do or say they want to be, and what opportunities are you providing for them?